is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 260. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is... Ian! And we call him...
E.
Sitting here on a Sunday. Beautiful Austin, Texas. Still the site of Wednesday's U.S. Open Cup final. Coming off a loss at the hands of Real Salt Lake. Up there in the elevation. How you feeling, my friend?
Pretty indifferent to the result last night, and still very excited for Wednesday. What's that picture from? Is that from AG's birthday?
I think so, yeah.
I think so, at the B&B. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Stevie
Lord.
franchise on.
Hey, that was a night. So you're just doing anything to avoid the list of names, huh? We're just going to be running through just whatever.
List of names of what?
The Eon, Stockel, everything to avoid that. We're just coming up with new shit here.
I'm diversifying my bonds, okay? I'm a student of Wu-Tang Financial. Diversifying my drops.
There we go. I'm good, man. I'm still hyped for Wednesday. This is what it's all about. This is what we've been waiting for. I'm ready for that. There's not too much to read into from this RSL matchup, in my opinion. Obviously, we're going to recap it, talk about our thoughts and feelings. We talked about on the last episode. Of course, we wanted to win. Of course, we wanted to get a point in that game. That was a do or die game for them, essentially. So you knew they were going to come out pretty amped up, ready to go for that. But, it's Wednesday, baby. We got this Wednesday. We're rolling. Yeah.
Obviously, if we didn't have the final, we would feel differently. But there would have been a different game plan last night, or at least a different lineup out there to start that match. And, you said indifferent. I don't know if I have a better word, going through my noggin thesaurus here to describe. I've never not cared about a loss that much, especially when we were down 3 goals at one point.
Yeah.
Just all right, man, we are all thinking about Wednesday, right or wrong, right? Guys coming out and saying that straight up after the game. I don't think I like that. I think we should probably be at least putting on the front that we cared a little bit more about that game last night, if you're in that locker room. But again, I'm not going to bitch too much about it because, again, that's where my mind is too. So I guess I can't really blame them.
Yeah, I feel you.
All right, everybody. We will recap last night's match. There are a couple things on the rewatch this morning, a couple things that I definitely want to bring up throughout this recap of last night's loss. Then we'll go into the preview of Wednesday night's final. And of course, coming down to it on the Next Pro side of things. So we will touch on the second team's game from last Friday. They are headed to a decision day, a big decision day once again next Sunday. So we will, of course, have last business day, touch on the nonsense at the end, and maybe a little Undertaker gif in there. I don't know, when we get to the nonsense. Before we get into the rest of episode 260, everybody, just want to remind you all, whether you're listening or watching on the YouTube channel, that you can support the show financially by downloading the audio versions of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. You can toggle on auto downloads on Apple or Spotify or wherever you're listening to those pods. That'll support the show going forward, and you won't have to think about it again. You can go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get your pods. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, hitting the subscribe button does help us grow the show. You can hit the notification bell as well to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, here on episode 260, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. Look, it can't be bad luck to hit the thumbs up on episode 260, headed in to Wednesday's final, And before we get to the RSL recap and kind of talk through that, I did want to put it on folks' radar if you haven't been, if you're not tuned into the social media with the MLS pundits and their, posts that they put out, their articles, all of that stuff. One thing that comes out right around this time of year is the MLS 22 under 22 list. And of course, our own Owen Wolf has been on the outskirts or right at the end of that list over the last 2 or 3 years. This year's list is not released until Wednesday, October 8th. So we will be previewing the LAFC home match that Wednesday. So we'll talk about the list when that comes. But some of those pundits have been putting out their ballots, which I very much appreciate. I think it's cool to always see how these different writers and broadcasters and such are viewing the league and viewing some of these young players. Owen is up there, unsurprisingly, right? But he's up there, like top 5 on some of these ballots. So I'm interested to see where he ends up and maybe look at some of the pass lists and see how many of those players have been sold on, how many of them stick around in MLS, things like that. And on a couple of those ballots, dude, prisoner of the moment or not, CJ Fodre is on some of the lists for some of these guys, dude. Yeah. So we will, again, I'm anxiously awaiting the release of the 22 under 22. Again, that'll be Wednesday, the 8th.
I mean, I'm so ready for that. Owen finally getting the recognition that he deserves nationally is something that I think every Austin FC fan could be really excited about, because we've seen this kid flourish and develop right before our eyes, have the looming nature of having your dad being the head coach hanging over your head for the majority of your career, and then being able to get out from underneath of that and really just play more free. And I'm going to pat myself on the back, because I said at the beginning of the season that Owen Wolff was going to be the person who benefited the most from the departure of Josh Wolff. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little something there, because
there
I will point out my my horrible takes as well, but I did nail that one. So really excited to see that. I mean, it'd be funny, right? Because we've been asking for a while, like, Owen should be on this list more. Like Owen's like, and now CJ sneaking in there after three impressive games is pretty great. But if CJ's on there as well, I'd be super excited for that. But I'm definitely hyped for this to come out and hopefully get Owen up, much more into the national spotlight.
Well, if you don't point out your shit takes, then I will bring
Someone
them up
will
on the next episode. So.
Someone will take care of it for me, 100%. Most likely you, but there's plenty of people waiting in the wings for that.
Yeah, hey, you got to boost your wins out there, man, because I'm not gonna.
No.
So getting into this one last night, man, I don't think anybody. Actually, that's completely wrong. I don't think anybody that's tuned in to the current events around the team was surprised by this lineup. If you want, if you're a sicko, right, and you're listening to the North End, or you're listening to all the other Austin FC podcasts and other independent media, you weren't surprised by this. If you want a good laugh, you go to the Instagram posts of the club and read the comments of the casuals. We're like, why is the B team out here? Are we trying to win or not? I saw some good soldiers out there replying to those people and being like, relax, brother, we got a final on Wednesday. But I had a good chuckle this morning. So I think the interesting thing about the lineup, though, that we didn't know about was that we started that 3-back look, the 3-4-3, right, in possession, more of a 5-2-3 without the ball. But Svatok is the center back who got the break. So you had Djordjevic, Julio, and BHI out there. Of course, John Gallagher. Mikael Dessler was officially ruled out on Friday, as expected. Germe Biru got back in there, I think as expected. Sabovic and Duber-Sarski, that was the defensive mid pairing that I edited right live on the preview episode. Thought, I think Sabo gets in there for Danny. Then you had Diego Rubio and Jader Obrian out on the nominal wings with CJ Fodre up top. So congrats to CJ on his first MLS start. That's well-deserved, potentially overdue. And I don't think we're going to talk about him much in the recap. So I'll say I thought it was a solid shift from him. Longest shift in his first team tenure.
I mean, absolutely. And when you look at it from the standpoint of we were trying to figure out how he was going to be able to temper the way that he plays when he comes in for 20 minutes or what have you, versus playing a full game, being out there from the start. Obviously, the adrenaline of your first career MLS start, and then you pair that with you're playing an elevation. But I thought he lasted more than fine throughout the course of this game, and it wasn't like he stuck out. Oh, this guy doesn't belong out there. So he did fine with his opportunity, and I'm super happy that he got it. And another thing to check off the list for him, he got your first goal. You got a game-winning. You got 2 game-winning goals, game-winning assist, and now you have this moment where you get your first start. So another thing to build off of. So super, super happy for him, and congrats to CJ Fodre.
I think that's a great point. The only thing I really want to emphasize there is that he did not look out of place.
Yes.
And I think that was something in my mind that I was just a little bit worried about, right? Because it's been such a small sample of amazing success over the last month.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think he did well for himself, as you said there. On the flip side, RSL, again, as you expected, ran out their full strength lineup in terms of who they have available to them right now, including Diogo Gonçalves, who came in questionable and played off the bench against LAFC the game before ours. So seeing him in there was like, here comes the buzzsaw, or like as close to a buzzsaw as this RSL team can be, but against our young boys out there, certainly more money out there on the pitch, I think, on the RSL side.
And the things we talked about this RSL team, I still think rang true despite the 3-1 result in their favor. They were very disjointed for the majority of this game, particularly in this first half, where I think game script and what you're looking for from the lineup that you rolled out there, Austin did their job until you have this unfortunate deflection that goes in right before the half. But they were still very disjointed. Olatunji was not like he looked dangerous, but it never looked like in the run of play with him. He was kind of all over the place. Obviously a physical specimen, really getting up there in the box, had a lot of opportunities in the air. So like that was one thing in itself, but still at the same time, I don't think that they looked overly impressive. If it's not for All-Star Guilherme Biru really losing his fucking mind in this game should have been a lot closer than it was, because you can directly point at one player for giving up 2 goals in this game, and then you add in that deflected goal, and like that's how you get here. So despite the fact that I'm indifferent to this result, Guilherme really, really fucking hurt the team last night, and he's not going to start in the Open Cup game.
Yeah, I mean, there are still some serious takeaways, I think, that we have from this match, despite our muted feelings about the result. And man, do we have to whisper today, MLS All-Star? Like, because it's definitely in lowercase today. Yeah,
well, I guess you could say MLS Reserve All-Star and say it loud, not to shit on Guilherme too much. But he had a terrible game. He was the worst player on the field last night. It wasn't even close.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned how disjointed RSL looked. That starts from right before the first whistle, where Diego Luna has to take his earrings out, and then his earring got stuck. Like you couldn't take it out like that. That was very puzzling to me, because like it's not like one head official lets you play with your earrings in and another one doesn't, right? So why are we still dealing with this right as play is beginning? So he's held out the first, I don't know if it was the first full 2 minutes or not, but this game begins with RSL down a man. Nothing really happens there. Austin did not put their foot on the gas and try to take advantage of that. And again, that was fine, at least with me. 10 minutes later, though, man, in the 11th, some fortunate bounces on a clearance here give Austin a little bit of a counterattacking chance, and it ends up creating a corner that's won by John Gallagher. And I think that kind of started a theme, not just in the first half, but on the night, of Austin being able to sit back, settled on defense, not give up any huge, big chances to RSL specifically in the first half. And then again, taking their chances on the counter when they had them and winning corner kicks. Like I think we doubled up Salt Lake on corners last night. And it didn't all just come from the late push when the subs came in.
There was a ton of corners in this first half. And like, again, the disjointed nature of RSL was on full display. And we were not being overly aggressive, as you mentioned, without putting your foot on the gas here. I think we looked disjointed as well. This was not an 11 we've ever seen before for this team. Obviously, we were without Pep and Owen in the midfield, and that takes away, and Ilya, takes away a lot of your ability to possess the ball in a crisp and manner that looks cohesive with everyone. And then again, we've seen time and time again when we don't have Osman Bukari out there in the field that this is a completely different team offensively. And no Dessler. Like we've talked about it. Like I can beat this horse to death, but like with no Dessler, man, you're a different club.
So we got Sabovic on the corner. We'll talk plenty about Bessard today. On this one, though, CJ rises up. And you talk about Olatunji's athleticism. You see CJ once again skying over the scrum here. Unfortunately, that service deflected off of his head and nowhere near the target. And I think flag went up for offside as well. Maybe it's BHI, but I couldn't really see what the call was on the rewatch. 5 minutes later, off a goal kick, Austin again able to win the ball out of the air, similar to 5 minutes prior. Biru here plays it to Diego Rubio, who shuttles it on to CJ down that left side, and he drives with it, winning another corner on that cross attempt. And that was Austin's third already, just 16 minutes into the match. And that corner is cleared away. And look, again, we haven't gotten to the Sabovic corner kicks that we're going to really sit here and bitch about. But I have a hypothesis, E. You know how I make fun of it more privately, but Owen's signal when he's ready to put in the service, he puts both hands up. It's like he's on an airplane runway.
Yeah.
Sabo just doing one hand.
Oh.
I think you need the dual hand.
Okay.
Everybody's got to see it. You know?
Okay.
Bring it on in for a goal.
Do you not think there's certain signals for what we're trying to do play-wise?
Dude, I don't know. I don't pay attention to it that much. Yes. 20th minute here. And despite the notes that we've talked about so far, Salt Lake, definitely the more dangerous team to this point of the match. Though both teams, again, have put in some dangerous balls into the 18. Gallagher here clears a ball out of Austin's defensive third. And Hyder Obrian is able to win it and then turn past Brian Vera, which creates space for both he and CJ to run at and behind Justin Glad near midfield. But Obi, I think both plays this ball through towards CJ, both too early and maybe with not enough on it. Because I think if you take another touch, CJ's able to get more momentum. And even if you just play it out further than you did, I think CJ, Glad's not slow for an MLS center back, but when CJ gets on his horse, he can keep up with a guy like that. So again, that was especially frustrating to us with how, while we were watching live, right, with how our frustrations with Obrian's down season has just snowballed over the last couple of months. I
know. And again, it's the same thing. Don't want to be beating this dead horse to even more, but his
kill it twice.
Yeah. It's his inability to play people into space with coherent balls that make sense is it's really, really frustrating to watch. And we're chatting last night about how the leading scorer last season, dude.
Yeah.
He led the team in goals last year. And nobody was expecting him to lead the team in goals this season, obviously, with all the people that we brought in. But my goodness, man, to be getting nothing out of him all year is really frustrating. And this is a guy that Nico has had in the past and clearly trusts. Yeah. And the conversation around Robbie Taylor and everything, at this point, if you cannot beat Jader Obrian out to get on the pitch, I don't think you're good anymore. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
It's been half a season, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And he did, to his credit, he did come in and immediately pick up an injury. Right? So that did not help Bobby T, but I'm not arguing against your point there. And I do think, right, to be fair to Jader, the truth is somewhere in the middle where last year, correct, him being our leading scorer highlights the place we were in terms correct of the rebuild and the roster. But we have not gotten anything out of him in terms of the counting stats. And that's a big problem.
It's a big, big problem. And even if you look past the counting stats, man, how many times have we seen him on a breakaway or anything and just make the flat out wrong decision?
Yeah.
Where it's you could have gotten a hockey assist here. You could have played someone to get us an assist or goal for yourself, man. And then when you're not, when you're not able to take the top off of this RSL defense, who again, they're not particularly quick on that back line. They have a pretty slow back line for MLS. But when you're not able to take the top off of it and the possession in the midfield for Austin is just not great, you're just consistently fighting an uphill battle. And you saw this from where we were consistently in this first half, just kind of on the back foot, on our heel. And we knew that we wanted to be that a little bit with this 5-back rotation, particularly with John out there on the right. But again, man, if you can't relieve some of this pressure that is accumulating, eventually you get one of these deflected goals that just happens. And it did.
Yeah. 26th minute here. Salt Lake wins a corner. That service is played all the way past the back post where Brian Vera gets on it, or gets under it rather, because he heads it back across the face of net, where I believe it's Heinzike and then CJ trying to head it away, but Fodre's only able to head it as far as Victor Olatunji, who's 12 yards out, and luckily he blasts it not just over the bar, but apparently the announcer said, over the stands and into the concourse. Can you imagine being up there from the bottom, brother? Bam! Just get fucking nailed by a ball.
Oh, man. This was a threatening chance, though. This was
absolutely.
I mean, like, he should have done better with this. We know the pedigree of the guy. You saw his individual talent, although I still maintain my point that he has not found a way to fit in with what RSL wants to do and what Mastrioni wants to do. Shout out to whoever got Pablo Mastrioni like a $300 gift card to Express, because he looks great last night.
Well, man, like, jokes aside, like a half hour in, we're feeling great about the way we're mucking this game up. And then, okay, I have to say this just because, especially because this survey came out this week, 36 minute, there's a handball on RSL. And Sabovic takes the free kick quickly, but we don't see it because there's a close-up of Justin Glad running the opposite direction. And so, like, I have an issue with the turnover. Even I couldn't see it, but like, it fucking, like, it feels like we've done that a couple times and not been able to see the mistake. But the season pass survey came out to anybody who's got MLS season pass, right? So if you're a season ticket holder or if you've just purchased it on your own, if you have the 5 or 6 minutes, however long it takes, like, go give them a piece of your mind, because if you're watching these games week in and week out like we are, man, like, we deserve better coverage than we're getting with this Apple TV right now. And I think it's multifaceted, but the camera angles from the production teams is a very easy one to fix. And so I was advocating to go, put on your Karen hat here, I guess. But, like, I think it's worth it for diehard fans to just be like, man, if enough of us say, like, this is terrible, you would think they're going to put some effort into it. It's a $2 billion deal.
And it's also just ridiculous. Like, we can do box and box, man. If you guys want to show a stat with somebody running, go ahead and do that and let us see the live play being taking place. So, like, I'm there. I can promise you I probably won't follow up with this, but other people should.
I'm going to write it for you.
There we go.
40th minute here. You got Salt Lake building out of the back. It is a good through ball here to Gonçalves down the right flank that lets him run all the way through to the end line. And as he gets there and meets the ball, he pops it up near post where Ruan Cruz pokes it out of the air, like flying karate kick almost towards net, and Stuver, his best save on the night, I think. Nice little diving save there. He does bop it right to the foot of Catranis, though, who picked up that loose ball, and luckily he skies it over the bar. But again, like, that's what you get with Bradley Scott Stuver in the net. And again, you're almost to half here, unscathed in the 43rd minute. Dubersarski up there wins another corner for Austin. And nothing doing on Sabovic's service here, but Austin retains possession. Ruan Cruz kicks the shit out of Heinz Eich's leg here, and Brendan does sell it, both visibly and audibly. You can hear him scream out, but that was very clear on the broadcast, and on the rewatch, you go see it. Man, he just kicks him right in the back of the calf. So no call there. Austin's still working it around the 18. It finds Jair Obrian in zone 14 there, and I think he gets caught between ripping a shot and trying to pass it out to the right, where there was an open teammate. And he just, again, gets caught in between, tries to make the pass. It gets deflected. It deflected out to Sabovic, who tries to launch it back into the mixer, but he sends it almost into the first row. And then for whatever reason, Bessard appears to be, like, talking back to the teammates who were like, dude, that was a shit ball. And, like, again, like, oh, we just need that guy to get some confidence, man. And which hopefully guy? What happens late? What? No, Sabovic.
Oh, I think he needs a little more than confidence.
Well, hey, maybe he gets some at the end of this match.
Okay. All right. I mean, also on this play, you have Hot Air throwing his hands up like, what the hell? And it's like, brother, enough of that, dude. Enough of that. It's one thing to be struggling as a player and not getting the counting stats and playing well. It's another thing to consistently be throwing your hands up in the air like this. And it's like, every time we've given you the ball, nothing good has come from it. And this is just another point where, like, of course, this lineup is not a lineup that's going to have any sort of synergy with it. We got a striker with his first career start here. This is obviously the first and only time we've ever rolled this lineup out. Your midfield is as weak as it's been. all season long with the start of Duber, Sabo, and Rubio there. So, like, of course, there was going to be things. But again, to the point, we had mucked the game up enough in this first half to feel really good about ourselves going into halftime. If you could have gotten to it 0-0.
Yeah, because just before stoppage, RSL has now right back in possession, kind of settling into Austin's final third here, which we've spent the majority of the first half and felt fairly comfortable. But right here, Justin Glad from the back finds Ojeda, I don't know, 30 yards from net, something like that. And he's closed down like somewhat loosely by Sabovic, but it's definitely not an open shot here because he fires a shot anyways that deflects off of Sabovic and floats inside the near post where, like, this is just super tough luck, man, because Stuver is all over this if it gets past Sabovic cleanly. And Bessart is doing his job, getting in front of the ball, just like we've seen a Heinzike deflection go in or a Svatok deflection go in over the past couple months. And I do think that Stuver, like, it was much tougher on him. I think on a better day, he still saves that, but certainly not blaming him. And I'm not blaming Sabovic for this either. I think this is some good luck for RSL. And just tough because, again, I just think this game is so different if you can get to the 0.5-0.
This was a serious, like, just a serious kind of backbreaker because you had done your job up until this moment. And again, super unfortunate. Before we jumped on here, I said that I thought this was probably the most unfortunate deflection we've had all season because after that ball ricochets off Sabo, the bottom on that thing just falls right out. And like, it looks like a sinker from Mariano Rivera. And it just drops because Stuver is going to get there, and I guess if I want to put on the ultra microscopic critique glasses, I would say you want to be a bit more square to the guy shooting the ball when you're trying to get these deflections, because you see Sabo open up his hips a little bit to the right, and that is going to cause a ricochet if it does deflect off of you. That is a bit more threatening, in my opinion. You want to be a bit more square, like you're on the wall. You cover up the giblets. You hope you don't take it in the face, and we try to get this ball not into a dangerous zone. And super unfortunate. We're sitting there again chatting about all these goals that have gone past Brad this season that have sucked. And on top of that, some horrible penalty kick calls that have really decreased his counting stats this season to no fault of his own. So super, super unfortunate. This really took a ton of momentum out of us. And again, if we had gotten past halftime, you can get to 60th and you're down 1-0, but this goal didn't come in the first half. You're like, yeah, we got the dogs on the bench ready to go. If we want a gun for this, then we feel fine about it. But for this to happen right before halftime, man, just super, super deflating.
Yeah, and like I do want to note before we go to the half, in the second minute of stoppage, really right after restart, though, RSL comes back in. Diego Luna has a little headed chance that is not on frame, but there is a ball cleared out after an Austin corner. So we've got, what is it, like O'Brien's back, Gallagher's back, right? Mm-hmm. And so this ball's going long, and Catranis is in a foot race with Hot Air O'Brien. And I wanted to give credit to Hot Air because this is great work and effort, right? This is, everything else isn't working for him. Yep. But if the effort is here on defense, you still want to see that. And he chases down a ball. And then his positioning, too, to draw a foul and a subsequent yellow card from Alex Catranis. Again, they're trying to find some positives for these guys that need it. Right? You expect that effort out of them, but you don't get that from everybody all the time. So
for sure,
you get a point from me. And then, man, it was 2 minutes given. So naturally, the goal right before stoppage, you're going to go over that allotted time a little bit. But Austin wins a corner here, and we are into the 4th minute of stoppage. So I think I was saying where we're watching, all right, on the hop, guy, like, don't give the official any inkling to just blow the whistle before we take the corner, because I think that would also be fair.
Yeah.
So Sabovic, again, on these set pieces in the first half, he plays the corner short when there's nobody there for a short corner, which I thought live, and I still kind of think this, I think Sabovic just scuffed this ball, and he got a little bit lucky that it went into the path of John Gallagher. But whatever was going through his head here, whether he scuffed it, whether he's intentionally playing it towards John Gallagher, and if he was, it's not a great pass, right?
No.
So Galley just pings it right back to him. And as soon as the ball comes back to him, of course, the official's going to blow the whistle. And again, I think that he scuffed it because Hader, CJ, the looks on those guys' faces told me that ball's supposed to come in there right off the corner. And how could it not?
I mean, of course, you'd have to assume that it would be played into the box here with the amount of time that was remaining. But I mean, Johnny, you kick it in, dude.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. Like if this is what happened, this is a bad ball. I mean, that's a really bad scuff. If we're saying that was a scuff, I still maintain that he was playing this short and still fucked up the kick. But like, if you scuff this, dude, like that is horrible. And then for Johnny not to have the situational awareness to be like, okay, I got to get this ball into the box somehow just to give ourselves a chance here. One last gasp at the end of this half to see if we can score a goal. It is bewildering, and this is when I said I was indifferent. I wasn't very indifferent after this took place last night. I was pretty pissed, but yeah, I mean, kind of the summation of this first half for this team. We wanted to muck the game up. We mucked it up ourselves with some pretty shitty looking play, but really inexcusable. And, I guess we're going to have to talk about Savage more a little bit in the second half, but we'll get to half here first.
Yeah, man, I don't know who was shitting on Savage more last night. You or Phil. Both of you guys not happy with Savage. And again, for good reason.
Yeah.
But man, again, the guy needs some confidence. The guy needs a good outing here before the end of the season. That's for sure. And again, I also want to say, like, again, these guys, and I know you know this, I'm not just directing this at you. Savage, I think, has like a 3 or 4 month old at home. So I think he's, again, the guy is going through some real life stuff that may be affecting his play on the field. Although I think it would also be fair to point out that there wasn't great play to point to before he had his kid a couple months ago. So anyways, like you said, coming out of the half, there's no changes for either team here. And I certainly didn't expect us to put those guys in right at the half. That I think it was Bredos and Dunseth on the call last night. They were calling for Austin to make changes at the half, but right here, right off the rip, man, Salt Lake loses it about 30 yards from their own net, and Dubersarski scoops it up, and he takes 2 touches and just kind of takes what's given to him here, fires a shot. It's well over the target, but I think, again, I appreciate him taking what the defense gave him there because he had a couple teammates. Those passing lanes were covered, and I appreciate the aggression there, right? Somebody's got to do something now, down 1-0 coming out of the half. The help is not coming yet, right?
No,
and so I just wanted to note that right off the rip that Duber's out there pushing forward, which is something that we haven't seen him do a ton.
I mean, in that first half, right, we have one shot, nothing on target. So yes, trying to get something going towards the net makes a lot of sense, and I do appreciate him reading the defense properly and taking what was available to him. Not a great effort. Still, what are you gonna do?
Hey, it's the Memorial Punisher shot in the second half shot. There.
Yeah, there it
is. We got nothing going. We need some XG. Fire it. 50th minute here. It's a great pass by Diego Luna to progress it forward after Salt Lake was horseshoeing around the back for a few moments. And that pass by Luna frees Gonçalves and rotates the Austin defense a little bit too much because Guilherme Biru follows Victor Olatunji, even though I think Olatunji was well marked by BHI. And it's like you forgot that DeAndre Yedlin can also run up the field at his right back position. And so this leaves Yedlin wide open, and he bangs it past Stuver. Again, I don't care if you're not a goal scorer and you don't have a goal for RSL yet since you came over from Cincinnati. If Yedlin missed this, again, it probably would have been another Brad Stuver fucking miracle save.
Yes.
But this is all on Biru. Is out of position, and it's not like we are huge Biru fans here in the North End, right? But this is far from the first time we've seen him be pulled out of position in transition this season. And again, like you hinted at earlier, if it hasn't been yet, because he had some of that knee soreness going on lately, if it hasn't affected his playing time yet, I think it is going to over the next couple of weeks.
I mean, he got 90 last night. I don't know how sore your knee is if that's the case.
Sure,
You're not starting versus Nashville. He's not. Like, it's not happening. He really struggles in the 5-back. He really struggles in the 5-back. And this is a key example of that. This has happened to him plenty of times where he gets sucked in and is kind of ball watching And I've mentioned it plenty of times before when we've seen this 5-back, where we have 3 guys occupying a very small amount of space. And this is all on Guilherme, because Olatunji is guarded by not just BHI. We have, I believe, Julio in that frame as well, or Georgie.
Well, and that's the thing, is we have 3 center backs. So like, I can understand sucking in a little bit more with our standard 4-back that we've run most of his tenure here, but you got to adjust, man. We've been running this for a couple weeks now. I know he hasn't been out there the whole time, but I don't know, man. It's the positional awareness, and this is not the only time he's caught out.
Yeah, no, he really struggles in the 5-back. And the interesting thing is, when we didn't have Djordjevic ready to roll, you actually saw Guilherme acting as the 3rd center back in some of these 5-back lineups. So I don't know if that's carrying over for like what he's trying to go through in his head to understand where he is, the situational awareness, this positional awareness, because DeAndre Yedlin still has plenty of speed to his name, but to be sucked in that far it is inexcusable, and just culminates everything that he had going on last night, because he was by far the worst player out there last night.
So in the 62nd minute, here comes the Cavalry down 2-0. Quad sub? First time, certainly this season, I think. I don't know if I've ever seen Austin FC make 4 substitutions at once. I'm sure it's happened in the last 4+ years, but you get Danny, Owen, Mirtu, and Buka in for Dubersarski, CJ Obi, and Diego Rubio. 8 minutes later, Tyler Wolf comes in for Diogo Gonçalves, so you've got some wolf-on-wolf action out there. 71st minute, yellow card to Olatunji going up high on Heinzike on an aerial duel. And then 2 minutes later, you get your first actual wolf-on-wolf action there near the RSL penalty area as Biru wins a corner. Nothing doing on the corner, and then after that, Owen has to transition take foul here, so he picks up a yellow card. And then in the 76th, the ball gets taken off of Biru in the offensive third. Olatunji, Cruz, and Luna are running at the 3 center backs with Osman in pursuit. And it was a good track back here in transition by Buka to knock it away from Olatunji. But then the ball goes into the path of Diego Luna out on the left. And very solid one-on-one defense from Matea here, man. Again, I know it's still a small sample size, but every time Matea Djordjevic has stepped on the pitch since he arrived, he has had a good outing, at least in my eyes. And again, I will say what I said a week ago, or whenever it was the last time I uttered these words. We got something with Djordjevic.
I agree. And, you know, I still want to temper my expectations a little bit, because we definitely thought that we had something with the likes of Leo, a couple other guys who have seen on that back line. But Djordjevic, man, he has been quite solid since he's been in there. I think the only time that I'm kind of racking my brain a little bit here is he has a bit of a miscommunication in the SKC game, which is, I think, allows the PK to happen. But again, you know, on the entirety of what he's been able to do thus far, he's been more than fine. And the thing I've been most impressed with is his ability to play the ball out of the back line. I think that has been a huge bonus for this team.
Yeah, no, I agree. Double change in the 81st for the home team. Junkwa and Anelli in for Catranis and Cruz. And off the restart, man, Salt Lake just slices right through the Austin midfield. Glad to Kaliskin to Luna, who again, Luna springs the goal-scoring chance, sends Olatunji through with Guilherme Biru, lowercase MLS All-Star Guilherme Biru, keeping him onside. And I also thought Stuver, in the moment at least, I thought he was slow to come out and meet him here.
He was.
And Olatunji chips him for the third goal, and then it's for sure that's all she wrote. Let's bring it in for a landing here, boys. Let's get home. Yep. I also think that on the rewatch this morning, and maybe this is just me like hindsight having this thought, that maybe Brad just like weighing the options of potentially colliding with Olatunji there and getting hurt. I don't know at that point. But 3-0, and you know, that's almost all she wrote.
Brad should have never been in this position. He should have never been forced to have to try to make a save here in this position versus Olatunji. The effort here by Guilherme is piss poor. The understanding of where our back line is set up is piss poor. And again, I've said it 3 times now. He was the worst player on the field last night. It showed all night long, and he was the person who caused Austin FC to concede 2 of these 3 goals.
84th minute. This is maybe the only moment of the game last night where had that like sinking feeling where we've been down 2 or 3 goals on the road before and feeling a little bit helpless is when Osman just dribbles out of bounds trying to shake a guy. Like, he gets one of those a season. So, okay, there it is. You get Robert Taylor on for Djordjevic. And again, I think 10 minutes before that third goal was scored, we were saying, where's that fifth sub? Like, let's pull a center back off. Why not?
Robert Taylor's not good. That's the answer.
He's not working for us.
It's not working. It is not working. It's not working. That's the only. What else could it be, man? Like, even if he is a complete jerk, complete jerks play all the time if you're good.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
It's just how it works, man. This is the nature of the business. We've gotten nothing out of Robbie besides that one goal that he did score. I forget the game. Other than that, we've got nothing out of him. And there's a couple guys that we've got nothing out of. Hader Obrian being one of them. Basar Savovic being another of them. I don't even give a shit about this garbage time goal that he gets. He has been flat out bad. I don't care if you have a kid, dude. I really don't. Wrap it up then. If it's going to make you play awful, just wait a little bit. Wait 2 years until you're out of the fucking league because we've gotten nothing out of Savovic this year.
Yeah, hopefully he is just a strong Goss theorem candidate next year and turns it around and is a completely different player next season, settled in here into his digs in Central Texas. But
I'm being so indifferent right now. It's crazy. Not emotional or anything at all. I'm so level-headed right now.
3 minutes after that sub, man, Olatunji gets his curtain call. The U22 Piol comes on for him. And 2 minutes later in the 89th, Austin gets a free kick attempt here. This is an awful kick by Mirtu, just right into the wall. And then it creates a transition opportunity for RSL where Biru pulls a guy down. He gets a yellow. So he ain't playing for 2 games because he's suspended against St. Louis.
Yep. And I think if you watched the game all the way through last night, the 2 guys who I think cared the least about this game were Buka and Mirtu. I think those are the 2 guys who were also explicitly told, chill. I think that they had instructions to be like, just relax here. We're getting you some run, keeping your legs, ready to go for this game on Wednesday. But both of those guys were completely disinterested in this game last night.
First minute of stoppage here. Austin in possession, right? Both teams just seeing this one out at this point, but Owen streaks from the left sideline with the ball at his foot towards the center of the park before pinging it to Danny, who's wide open. And he's similar to the winner against Seattle last weekend. Danny has all the time in the world to look up, assess, and drop one in there right to Savovic, who's running in behind. And Sabo nods it down into the ground. And look, Rafa Cabral should have saved this one.
Yes.
But spills it, and the ball finds its way in for, as I wrote this morning, a fart of a consolation goal.
There we go.
See, I'm with you. Indifferent.
Yeah.
Hopefully, again, like I said earlier, man, hopefully this can give Savovic a little bit of confidence coming out. And so I hope this is shown on film early this week, right? Look, Sabo, it does go in the net, right? Yep. And good run there. Good pass by Danny.
Great ball.
So again, 3-1, you get your little consolation goal, make it look a little bit less poor coming out of Salt Lake this season. And that was all she wrote, man. 3-1 loss. And again, mostly meaningless just because of the context of this week.
Yep. Fantastic ball by Pep. Absolutely. That's the highlight of this play. The low light is the Cabral whiff on the save. And I hope so. I really do hope that this gives Bassard some positive momentum moving forward, get some confidence, because I am waning on confidence of guys that I've been looking down the list and being like, are we going to get anything out of you the remainder of this season? It is dwindling. Your chances to make an impact on this year are really dwindling. So I hope that this can kind of get him turned around, see the first one go in the net. Now that seal is kind of broken. Great. Hope it works out for you. 3-1. Again, I think the scoreline is probably indicative of what this game was for us. And you get this goal that makes it not look completely atrocious, but it's on to Wednesday, man. It's on the things we talked about in the last episode previewing this game. You stay healthy, and we live with whatever result it was. If you get a point, if you win this game, fantastic. This was a house money game for us. We're looking over, before when you coming over and we're playing some darts and everything, we're keeping an eye on Nashville, and they ran out their choice 11 because they didn't have house money to play with because they've been piss poor as of late playing in the league. And now the pressure's a little bit ramped up for them. So totally fine. Everyone's healthy. The sky is not falling. We're okay.
So before we completely move on from this one and put it in the rear view, a couple stats right from last night. 48% possession for Austin at the end of this one. 15 shots to 7 in favor of Salt Lake and 8 on target to 2. Austin did create. We were given a big chance there on Fatmob's model for the Savovich goal, so we converted that one big chance. And Austin did double up RSL on the corners 10-5. If you're looking at the XG model on FOTMob, 0.44 expected goals for Austin to 1.16 for RSL. But once again, I like the goals on target model here a lot better. 0.15 for Austin to 2.08 for RSL. That feels a little bit more accurate there in terms of the underlying numbers.
Yes, absolutely. And it's the first and second half, the possession numbers are so strange to me. I mean, obviously we know that in the second half, RSL gets their second and third goals. That second one obviously coming pretty quickly into that second half and can kind of take the foot off the gas a little bit, but really, really odd. And you see, it kind of reflects that first half of us trying to muck this game up, them coming out very, very aggressive because they knew this was a do or die game for them. And they're still probably dead in the water, to be honest with you. So again, just happy that everyone got out of there healthy. Hopefully Dessler got to get some good rest, some rehab and everything. And he's ready to go, geared up for Wednesday. And let's go do this fucking thing.
I just want to reiterate. It was under control until the deflected goal. Yep. I think you see it here with the MLS stat maps from Blue Sky. 8 of the 15 shots for RSL were of the poor XG quality, an additional 3 average, none of them in the great category. So again, I want to give credit to the rotated side that was out there in the first half. Because I think, that I cannot give credit on the second goal. And then the third goal, we had already made the quad sub. But I thought that first half, again, absent just the deflection, which is just luck at that point.
Yep.
I think they went out there, they executed the game plan. We created corners. We took our time on those corners, right? We weren't rushing anything. So I just wanted to give credit to those guys. Even in the loss, I think that there's probably some praise coming from the coaching staff after their film session here early in the week for those guys that went out there for the first 45.
Well said. And I think that's a good point and something that we can actually kind of hang our hat on because yes. And as I mentioned, I think 2 times at this point, this was not a team. This was not a lineup that has any minutes together all season long. So you knew it was going to be a little bit ugly, but you did do your job for the most part in that first half to go ahead and give yourself an opportunity to steal a point on the road. You had the unfortunate deflection. Those things happen throughout the course of the season, but c'est la vie.
Anything else for you on this one?
No.
I'm going to take the moment just for myself to bitch that if you're watching the YouTube, you might be able to see my face every couple minutes. All my fantasy teams are getting massacred right now, dude. Lamar Jackson is hurt now. Fuck.
Oh, shit.
Me and Lojo can fucking commiserate on that. Let's talk about this U.S. Open Cup Final E. Wednesday night at the Q, 7 p.m. kickoff. I believe CBS Sports Network, Paramount Plus here for the Open Cup Final. And look, man, the first thing that I think of when I see Nashville coming to town, revenge on Hani Mukhtar for Seba. Because if you go back to the 2022 MVP voting, and there's I don't actually know what the breakdown is between how heavily weighted the players' vote is versus the media vote versus the vote that comes from the clubs themselves. But in the players' vote back in 2022, 29.9% of the players voted for Hani Mukhtar, 16.1% voted for Seba. The media were very biased, So I guess we're railing against the media here because the media vote was 78% Mukhtar, 13% Driussi. And then the club vote, 36.2% Hani, 21.3% Seba. So look, man, we will always maintain that we think Seba was the most valuable player in the 2022 season. And I think that played out when we got to the postseason, and one team went to the conference finals, and another team got booted out in the first round. But the all-time head-to-head here between these two clubs, we've met 4 times in league play. Austin has 1 win, 1 draw, and 2 losses. And that 1 win was the most recent regular season meeting between these two clubs, a 2-0 Austin win on the road last August. Those were goals from John Gallagher and Osman Bukhari, who scored his first Austin FC goal in that game. Stuver also, and this to me is notable, Stuver also saved a Hani Mukhtar penalty kick in the first half of that match. But these two teams did see each other this season in the preseason finale at Q2 on February 15th. That was reportedly a 2-1 Austin win with a brace from Osman. So Osman, whether it's regular season or preseason, has liked scoring against Nashville in his year plus here in Austin. And man, I was kind of surprised to see that we had played 4 times before. I remember the season that they were in our conference, but we also played in the expansion season, which was a 1-0 road loss for Austin. But there is more history between these two clubs outside of just that MVP battle late in 2022.
And I think when we're jumping back to that 2022 season and obviously our support of Seba for MVP that year, I think what really cooked us was, or Seba in particular, was the 3-0 loss versus Nashville that year, where you just had our ass beat by them. And I think that impacted the way that the media in particular voted. I'm not sure. I'm all on board for revenge versus Seba. And like, this team has been obviously coming out of the gates scorching hot, and then a real tail off here as of late, but very dangerous. They have still the golden boot. Is he the golden boot leader right now in Surge?
He's in 3rd, dude.
Oh, geez.
Which is crazy.
Because Buwanga's just on fire right now.
And Messi, yeah. Well, but Messi and Buwanga are not just on fire, but also catching up in the games in hand that their clubs had on everybody. So that has boosted them. But, I mean, Surge, dude, great just talent. Getting out ahead of this. 22 goals in the league, an additional 5 in the Open Cup.
He's a good player. He's very good.
Understatement, probably.
Yeah, he's very, very good, man. So this is going to be a tough matchup, but you got enough to get this done. Let's get into this roster breakdown, though.
Yeah, so Nashville is the 2nd oldest team in MLS with an average age of 29.3 from the 25 players that they've used this season. That's tied for the 2nd fewest number of players used in this league season. Austin, just for comparison's sake, 7th oldest at 28.7 years old on average. And Austin has used the fewest players of any team this season with 22, which I think, again, highlights that we feel like we have so much more depth now than maybe we've ever had in terms of the quality that comes off our bench. But we still have multiple steps to take to like fully building out this roster to compete on the level year in and year out with the best clubs in this league.
Absolutely. And you saw that rotation and depth last night kind of be on display, where it was like, it would have been nice to have someone out there who you could have trusted a little bit more. But look at those 3 DPs, right? We've brought up Mukhtar, we've brought up Surge. You look at Zimmerman, been battling some injuries this year, have not gotten a lot out of him, 1,300 minutes as opposed to Surge and Mukhtar, who I believe well over 2,000 at this point. So it's interesting, right? Because we've been looking at all these roster pages and everything, and it's very rare that you have a defensive player in that DP assignment. Zimmerman, obviously a high quality player, or has been for the majority of his career. And I think he's been fine in the minutes he has played. But you mentioned that age is kind of catching up to this team a little bit here. And Zimmerman, 32 now at this point, I think is dealing with just the wear and tear and the grind of everything that you have to do when you're playing internationally as well at the MLS level.
I mean, it's been a stop and start year for Zimmerman, right? I mean, he got kicked in the head and knocked out, missed over a month earlier in the season, and then has been dealing with various other bumps and bruises. Came off the bench last night in that win over Houston. But if you're on the YouTube here looking at the roster build, you can see, right, 3-3 build, another team that has all 6 of those slots filled. And unlike RSL, all 6 of these guys with the team and playing. Also 3 TAM players here for Nashville with Tyler Boyd, Gaston Brugman, and Jack Mayer, coached by BJ Callahan, right? Callahan is just the 2nd coach in Nashville club history, Gary Smith was the first. And again, this is a team that has, I believe, only one more season than we did. They came in, I believe, in that 2020 season. So some of the major offseason additions that like you didn't see in August of last year when we went on the road to play Nashville. I mentioned Gaston Brugman as one of those TAM players, right? Brugman arrived in a trade from the Galaxy. He was the MLS Cup final MVP last season. So we know how important of a move that was really for both clubs. That I think was the first kind of we have to shed salary and tear some of this down move by the Galaxy. And Nashville certainly took advantage of that. Brugman also dealt with some injuries this year, only made, I believe, 22 appearances so far, but should be expected to start on Wednesday night. They also added former Norwegian youth prospect and former Liverpool prospect, Edward Tagseth, in the offseason, and Tagseth has been a huge addition this season. They also added U22 winger Ahmed Kassim, Swedish winger, came over from IF Elfsborg. And then, of course, right, you mentioned Sam Surridge, third in the Golden Boot race with those 22 goals. 5 assists for good measure in the league in those 32 appearances. And like I mentioned, 5 additional goals, including a hat trick in the Open Cup semifinal. Hani Mukhtar, though, and like as much shit as we're going to talk a little bit of shit about him here today, and then a lot on Wednesday night in person, this is a resurgent season from the 2022 league MVP after a down year and a half, right? And our best ball team in the past felt that down season. He's got 16 goals and 11 assists in his 32 appearances. And you look at the fact that 38 goals between Surridge and Mukhtar this season. I haven't looked at the standings. I'm sure if we took a peek at it right now, that's more goals than Austin has on the season potentially. But this is not a two-man team, but offensively, it's almost a two-man unit.
They are incredibly top heavy with these two guys on the offensive side of the ball. And you took what I was going to say right there. 38 of their 55 goals from these two guys. And this is where it starts and stops with them. Obviously, Mukhtar a little bit better in distribution than Surridge is. Surridge obviously receiving a lot of these balls into the box. He's great in the air on top of all the other things that he does really well. This is also a team that has drawn 11 penalty kicks. So like they're tied for first for PKs drawn. And those two guys have stepped up. I believe they banged 8 combined at this point. So, yes, these are the two guys you have to focus on. If you can take them out of the game, you're going to be in really fucking good shape. If you can limit those guys as much as possible, you're going to be in really good shape. One name on this list that really pops out to me, Schaffelberg, somebody who I have some respect for. He's got some speed. I think he's a feisty and aggressive player and someone who I've seen kind of pop off the screen when I've watched this Nashville SC team a handful of times. Also, Alex Moyle, who I think is a very solid rotation player. But like, again, outside of Mukhtar and Surridge, there is not a whole lot that you need to fear on the offensive side of the ball from this club.
Well, what's the I can't believe I'm blanking on the actor's name, but the guy who plays who's in Dune, Lisan Al Gaib. What's the young cat's name? Yeah, so did you know Muyol's like boys with Chalamet?
I did not.
Grew up together.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Another little Muyol fun fact there.
Is Chalamet coming down? Huh?
I don't know, man, but he should, right?
Yeah, he better.
Come join the North End, bro.
Come on. Bring Kylie too, or Kendall, or whoever it is.
Whoever he's with now.
Yeah, whatever. They're probably all good looking.
Sure. So Schaffelberg, though, I think what you're remembering is I think he was traded from Toronto to Nashville in maybe the end of the 2022 season. I think he's hurt us before, right? With that speed that you mentioned. So that's also somebody to watch out for. Maybe like don't put too much attention on those main guys where you lose Schaffelberg in the shuffle because he will make you pay with that athleticism.
He is much faster than it appears. For sure. Every time I've seen him, I'll be like, oh shit, he can put some burners on. I distinctly remember him running down some ball on the sideline where it was like, whoa, this dude is zooming right now.
Yeah. And the other name that I think we really have to focus on here, and maybe the biggest offseason addition, even more important than a Tagseth or a Brugman, was Andy Nahar, right back, very offensive minded. And like we know that from his previous MLS stint, 7 years between DC and LAFC, before last season went back to his native Honduras and played in their league there. But since joining Nashville this year, 31 appearances, now has 2 goals and 10 assists. So again, Nahar is very much he's loving lumping these balls into Big Sam Surridge in there. And that's going to be a big challenge on that left side for a guy like Jean Kolmanich.
Yes, absolutely. And like you're looking at Nashville right now, top 3 in expected goals this season, I believe 2nd in big chances. So like that combination of Nahar to Surridge in the middle of the pitch has been something that they've relied on all season long. And again, just the quality that they've gotten out of Mukhtar this year has just really, really raised the floor of this team.
Some of the stats, and again, these are just from the league and not including Open Cup stats this year, but Nashville and you mentioned some of these already. 9th in goals per game, 6th in goals against, right? 6th best, just 13th in average possession, 50.7% per game. You mentioned 9th in clean sheets. They do have 9 of them. They're 3rd in XG, though, 3rd in shots on target per match, 2nd in big chances, tied for 1st in big chances missed. You mentioned they've won the most penalties with 11, 13th in touches in the opposing box, and 5th in corners. So this is a team that can both possess the ball and turn that possession into threatening attacking moves here. And defensively too, right? This is a team we've commented a couple times now in the betting articles about when you go to like the expected goals table, right? If you just all the results based on expected goals this season, that FC Cincinnati goes from 2nd in the East to 12th, right? Yep. But Nashville is the opposite direction where they are, I think, 6th right now in the East. They would be, just on the underlying numbers, 2nd in the East with 55 points. So we should not be surprised that these numbers are so impressive on paper. 3rd best in expected goals conceded. They've only given up 4 penalties on the year, so they've been clean in and around the penalty area defensively. And then, like, you see this, they are able to be extremely physical while towing the line, so to speak, because they're 4th in fouls per match, but just 27th in yellows, and they've only picked up 1 ejection the entire season. So, and then bringing in their Open Cup run to what they've put on paper in the league this year. They began round of 32, 1-0 home win over the Chattanooga Red Wolves. That was a fully rotated Nashville side there. Then in the round of 16, they go on the road to Orlando City. They win 3-2, also rotated, while Orlando played their guys. Wow. So Nashville has had a little bit I didn't get eyes on that game. I can't tell you how much of it was luck, but their reserves performed well against one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference to keep them alive and advance them to that quarterfinal where they finally, all right, we turned the switch on. Yep. We got 3 games to win here. 5-2 win at home over DC United. They were down 2-1 at half and got 4 goals in the second half to win 5-2. And then that semifinal, which we, of course, had eyes on, 3-1 win over Shield leading Philadelphia Union with that Sam Surridge hat trick. So again, 5 total Open Cup goals for him. So 27 in all comps on the season. Especially that Philly win, man, is impressive. But to see what their depth pieces did, especially against Orlando, this is a team that it would be very hard to make an argument that they don't deserve to be in the spot they're in here on Wednesday.
Absolutely. And when you're going back for this season for them, we're talking about that Open Cup start and their rotation and everything like that. They didn't lose a game from April 26th until July 12th when they dropped to Miami 2-1. And with Philly beating them in the Open Cup, I'm pretty sure they're undefeated against them this season with 2 3-1 victories over Philadelphia this year. So that highlights that this team has the quality to compete with anyone in the league. And the fact that they've really, they put it together despite not having those guys, the mainstay guys for this Open Cup run. They have come back down to earth a little bit here and have been struggling as of late, but they can play with anyone, man. They have the talent to do so. And again, it starts and ends with Mukhtar and Surridge.
Well, and last night, as we mentioned, right, they hosted Houston Dynamo. Ended up being a 3-1 win for Nashville. But started their guys again because they do not have, like we mentioned, right, they don't have that house money that we've been playing with over the last week in the Western Conference.
Mm-hmm.
It went about as good as you could hope, I think, for Nashville. Mukhtar gets a goal in the 2nd minute, and then Houston gets a red card in the 9th minute.
Yeah.
I will credit the Dynamo, both for themselves and then for helping us out a little bit because they do equalize in the 40th, making, Nashville have to sweat for it a little bit there in the second half. It was both Nahar and Surridge scoring those 2 second-half goals for the 3-1 victory. That Surridge goal did set a new club record for goals across all comps, getting to that 27 mark. Nahar's 12 contributions are his MLS career high in 8 seasons. And the team also set new club records for regular season wins with 16, wins in all comps with 20, and regular season home wins with 11. They also clinched a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference last night, which is the club's 5th playoff berth in their 6 seasons. But I do think it's notable that when you look at the home road splits, Nashville have not been great on the road this year, at least in league play, right? Just 17 points from their 16 road matches, 5 wins, 2 draws, 9 losses, and a -6 goal differential. So this is a different team when they go away from Geodis Park. And again, I think we are very lucky, not just as fans, to have this whole experience, but in terms of actually getting Nashville in a place where they are notably worse, at least with their results on paper. It is very good that we are hosting this match.
Kind of read my mind a little bit here also because I do think that they're going to have a pretty decent contingency of fans at this game.
Sure.
I really do think that they're going to have a good showing up there in the whatever. I don't even know what part of the stadium that is at that point. I would need a compass or something to be able to decipher.
It'd be northeast.
There it is. All right, great. Yeah, I think they're gonna have a good. I think they're gonna have a good showing here. But I'm ready to chat about us if you are.
Yeah, man. I think the first thing, like kind of bridging from you talking about bringing up their potential traveling contingent, I would agree with you because no matter what happens, one city, Austin or Nashville, will be bringing home its first major professional sports trophy. So look, man, if we were in this position, but the game was in Nashville, we would be making this trip.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I think you're spot on there that we should expect some significant yellow in the stands, particularly in their away section up there, but also piggybacking on what I bring up with their home road splits. We have, I would say, far from an elite team at home this year, right? Because we went multiple months with just draws, but we have been one of the best in the league at not losing at home, right? We've only lost at home twice. The only other teams in the league this season with better home records in terms of that loss column are the Shield leading Philadelphia Union and the Seattle Sounders, who won Leagues Cup.
Yep.
Right? So like each of those teams have 1 loss. We have 2. We haven't lost at the Q since May 3rd. That was the 3-0 loss against Minnesota, and the only other loss was the 1-0 against Colorado. So, I think, again, not just feeling good that Nashville hasn't been as good on the road, but in a knockout game where we can, we'll take a draw. We will take you, Joe Willis, to Pens.
37-year-old Joe Willis.
I think this is a huge advantage for us to be at home if you're just looking at what the teams have done in 2025. I'm knocking on all the wood I have right here. Since the beginning of May, we don't lose at home. So I feel good.
Some of the draws that we've had have felt like losses, but again, they don't count as losses on paper. So I'm right there with you. And this place is going to be rocking. It's going to be packed. We are going to be filling this motherfucker out. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be an awesome, awesome event and experience and atmosphere. And I do think that this is going to play a huge advantage for us, man. This is what we wanted for so long at the Q, man. Like just big time matchups. You're finally getting it here versus this Nashville club with it all on the line. This is huge for both franchises, man. So this is going to be exciting.
Yeah, it gave me a little shot of adrenaline when the club poster, I think it was Q2 Stadium, posted on the stadium socials. Open Cup trophy is here. And you see that picture on the screen right now. So the hardware is in town, E. and I've got another predicted lineup here for the YouTube viewers. So I want to list this off for any of our audio only listeners. Of course, Bradley Scott Stuver in net.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how we would go away from the 3-back with how much. I mean, haven't we run this 3 consecutive matches now? I think.
I don't think Cascante's starting. I don't.
Okay.
That's
okay.
what I'm just going right there. I think it's Djordjevic. I think Svatak is going to slide into the middle, or excuse me, Heinzike will slide into the middle, and then you have those two guys opposing him.
Okay.
This is where I'm at. We've been running Julio didn't play for 3 fucking months, and now he's ran out 400 fucking minutes in the last 3 weeks. He's ready. He's ready.
I mean, I think Svatak gets in there, and maybe similar thought process here. I think he is follow Sam Surridge.
Yes.
Right. I think because he's the most physical guy we have back there.
Yep. I think that's the only spot I'm looking at. I'll let you keep going with this, but I don't think Julio's starting.
Okay. So for the audio listeners, I had Julio, obviously, flanked by Svatak and Heinzike. I think I feel fine with any mix of the 3. And then as those wingbacks, Dessler back out there on the right. Look, man, I think one thing's I feel fairly certain about that we're not going to get 2 hours out of Dessler. So fucking get it done in the first 90, boys. But again, I just don't, we haven't seen him go more than 60 something over the last almost month, I feel like. But like we said earlier, man, Jean Kolmanic is starting on the left.
Jean Kolmanic is starting over Guilherme Biru. That is absolutely happening. I think.
And you feel better about that right now, don't you?
I guess. Yeah, I do.
I think he's better in the 5-back.
I think he might be better in the 5-back role.
At least right now.
I really do. The way that we've seen this shift, particularly with the knockout style games and going to this 5-back, I do think that suits Kolmanic better. And I talked about the struggles that Guilherme has had in the 5-back, knowing where he's supposed to be. And so I think that's guaranteed Kolmanic is starting over Biru. And the last 2 sample sizes, man, Guilherme has not put anything on tape as of late that has looked good. So I can't knock riding the hot hand here.
So Danny and Ilie paired there in the midfield, Osman, Owen, and Mirtu up top. Again, I think you're probably right in terms of the center back trio. If we are running out this formation again, is probably the place you're least confident in projecting any of these starters. Mm-hmm. Just because there's less separation there than the other 6-7 spots on the field.
Yes, absolutely. There's definitely less separation at that position. But this is a fantastic lineup for us. It's been working. There's no reason to get too cute with this. Love having Ilie slotted back in there with Pep, provide that stability, that voice, that leadership that he has out there. And Pep's got to be physical. You know what I mean? These yellow cards, they don't count no more after this, brother. So if we got to put Mukhtar or somebody on their ass once or twice here, I feel good about Pep being able to do that and being able to control the ball in that midfield for us. Because if you're looking at that Nashville team, right, I think that's the weakness is in the midfield for them. You have the 2 players up front with Mukhtar and Surge, Mukhtar playing on that wing a lot. That the midfield is something that you can really attack. So
remember, Open Cup, 18 spots.
Yep.
Who's getting left off? Taylor's one.
Robbie Taylor for sure. that's a guarantee. We
saw Obi was left off.
I would leave Obi off. There's again, if we're talking about recency and everything, like I just said with Guilherme there, not putting anything good on tape versus Kolmanic, who has some solid stuff on tape. It's clearly CJ riding the hot hand over Obrian.
Yeah.
And it's the 1-for-1 kind of sub late on where we can pitch some balls into the middle of the field, into the box. And CJ is going to be good versus literally any team in the air. Because that's what he truly excels at.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think I'll be shocked if that second guy left off is a Dubersarski or a Sabovic.
Yeah.
But I think I'm with you that Obi is probably the most likely one. Just, I guess, in my head thinking at home, do you keep the more offensive guy there? But again, Hot Air has also not put anything out there. It was oh yeah, we're going to get a goal or an assist out of him late. So that's the first thing I think, outside of course, looking at the starters first. But I just don't think we're going to get surprises from the starters. I think my eyes might dart directly to to the reserves.
I think that's totally fair. Yep. It's 100% Taylor. And then it's a kind of a choice between Duber and O'Brien. And I still understand wanting to have that over the top, open up the back of the defense, speed that O'Brien does possess, because it is something that has to be accounted for. So we'll see.
Anything else for you on this one?
No, I mean, I guess, so one of the things that we have seen from these knockout games and the opponents that we have been playing, right, is the contrast with possession. And I think that this Nashville team kind of fits right into the middle, at the median almost, between what we've seen from your Dallases and then your Sounders as well. And I'm missing a team in there. Your Minnesotas, the very extreme outliers of the possessions on either side. This Nashville team, I believe, checking in at about 50%. So this is not a team that, like, when you saw versus the matchup versus Minnesota, where they're just going to give us the ball and be like, you have it, let's see you go do something. They are also going to want to possess this. And I'll interested to see how they want to attack our 5-back lineup.
All right. One thing left to do. What's the score line in Austin FC's Open Cup winning victory?
I think it's 2-0 Austin. I think you're able to keep them off the board. I like it. I think if you get that first one, they're going to have to press a little bit. You can still rely on that 5-back to be stout in defense. I think Bradley Scott-Stuver is going to be, it's the biggest game of his career, right? Like,
it's the biggest game of almost everybody on the pitch, with the exception of Ilie, for us.
I mean, not bigger than for Osman and Mirtu. What are you talking? Those guys have played in bigger games. Osman wasn't he in the Champions League?
Yeah, he played Man City one time. Okay.
Okay.
He played in the World Cup. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know about Mirtu, man. I mean, he second division champion, to get promoted. It's not a championship game. This is win or go home.
Yeah. Okay.
He don't play in those.
Word. I'm with you there. I think Bradley Scott-Stuver is going to be on his shit, freshly inked with that extension, ready to show up and show out for this game. You're going to get a couple big saves out of him that keep this Nashville team off the board. 2 goals. I'll go even further. Give me a Buka goal. Give me a Mirtu goal.
Oh, putting in the call. Okay. Well, we aren't boring today, and I think everybody's going to like your prediction much better. I got 2-2 draw. Winning PKs. Bradley Scott-Stuver. We start building the statue that night. You and me outside 3 a.m. Got a fucking 6-pack out there, laying the first bricks.
No, we're not.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's last business day.
Last business day here on episode 260 of the North End podcast. And one piece of news before we get to the Portland Timbers 2 recap. Last Tuesday, Austin FC 2 added Omar Jaroun as the team's new assistant coach. So obviously Jaroun joining late in the season here, but coach had previously served as an assistant with Huntsville City in the Eastern Conference of Next Pro and Atlanta United 2 when they were in the USL Championship. Also coached various age groups within the Atlanta United Academy, and was also the head coach of a USL League 2 side, Peachtree City, back in 2018. Also assistant at University of North Georgia and Clayton State. So a lengthy resume there for Coach Omar Jaroun. So welcome, Coach. Look, work your magic here, I guess, for decision day.
Make something happen immediately.
Yeah. Because as you could see on the screen, if you weren't tuned in on Friday, Austin FC 2 loses to the Timbers at home by a 2-1 scoreline. I will say, lineup, couple surprises. And this was a welcome surprise for me. Peter Grogan back in there up top, right? Not something that I thought we were going to see before the end of the season. So again, to me, that says you're doing the right things, right? Even after some of those disciplinary slip-ups throughout the second half of the season. Also got Jimmy back into that lineup, which was good to see. And those two connect here early on, man. In the 11th minute, long ball over the top this is before we get our chance. Long ball over the top gets Jura, one of the wingers there for Timbers 2, in behind, one on Charlie. And Farah comes up with the huge save to keep us scoreless. And as Austin goes the other way, we work it over the top. Nice changing ball from Irvin Torres to Jimmy out on his left wing. And Farkelin corrals it at the top corner of the box. Plays a really nice give and go with Peter Grogan. And Jimmy slots it home past the Timbers keeper for the early lead. And assist to Peter, man. I mean, couldn't have a better start.
Yeah, right. And like you talked about with Grogan there, man, we know the talent for this guy. Yeah, and we've been on his ass, rightfully so, in my opinion, because you just can't put your team in the position that he has thus far. But with those two, that 1-2 has been nice. Obviously, we know CJ is way beyond playing with this club. So this is your 1-2 punch now without Alice Sway out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and Austin was missing Jorge badly on Friday night. In the 30th minute here, you do have a chance to put a second one past the Timbers to goalkeeper because FCito long bout of possession, and like Portland does push them out towards midfield in this moment, but Jules Berry's on the ball. He peeks up, picks out Irvin Torres running in behind, and Torres does really well to bring it down softly, shakes the one defender in his way to get a nice look, but just can't put that ball on target. 42nd minute, now Timbers kind of shifting the momentum, controlling possession in the Austin half. Really great line-breaking pass here from Pope to Nunez. Nunez gets a step on Riley Thomas running this ball down, which allows him the space to square it across the face of net to Charles Ondo, who's crashing the box, and Ondo taps it home to equalize. Just before half, Austin almost responded. Jimmy, really nifty moves here by Farkelin to get around a defender and then into the 18 before picking out Irvin Torres on the opposite side of the area. And Irvin tries to one-time it out of the air. It's a great save here by the Timbers 2 keeper. Much more accurate chance there from Irvin, but we go to the half 1-1 and no changes at the half. But fairly early in the second frame here, we get Chesla and Danchutu in for Barry and Grogan. And then the 76th, Diego Abarca in for Micah Burton. So we're coming down the stretch here. Like, again, we pulled the lever, but like if you can get the 2 points, it keeps you much more in touch with that playoff line. 80th minute, Timbers 2 gets a corner. They take it short in that near side to corner from the broadcast camera before playing it into the mixer, and it bounces kind of harmlessly towards the top of the box, where Ondo, who scored the first goal, he gets on it, takes a touch away from net, and then horizontally across the top of the 18 to open his hips up for a low shot back across his body, and that sneaks inside the far post past Charlie for the lead. This guy Ondo, man, no goals on the season coming into the night, nabs a brace in the penultimate game of the season to spoil the night for us in SC2. 88th minute, Avila and Badawia come in for Gonzalez and Farkelin, but that's all she wrote, man. 2-1 loss, and as we pull up the table here now, man, Loons 2 beats Rapids 2, which is not good for us. North Texas SC did lose to Real Monarchs, which was key to keeping our playoff hopes alive here. Ventura County played Sporting KC2 today, and you can see on the table, they got the dub. So we will now not be able to catch Ventura County or Loons 2. 3 points back and 2 wins back in that wins tiebreaker. So it comes down to Austin FC 2 traveling next weekend to San Jose to take on the Town FC. The Town in action right now, down 1 to 12th place Tacoma. I think we actually want the Town to win this game and their midweek game on Wednesday to clinch the second seed, so they potentially rotate against us next Sunday on decision day. And even if they don't rotate, playing for nothing with us having everything to play for, we would rather have that scenario on the mental side of things. So of course we will preview that match on Thursday's episode. So right, we cannot be eliminated here this weekend or in the midweek. So we still have that lifeline, but we don't control our own destiny. And look, man, we lost 4 of our last 5.
Yep.
We had every chance to be in a better spot here, and now you're going to need North Texas SC. I guess, actually, if North Texas draws and loses the shootout against LAFC 2 and we win, we would be ahead on goal differential tiebreaker and get in. So there are a couple different avenues here, but the very simple one is win and North Texas loses. Again, North Texas playing LAFC 2, who are the second to last place teams here in the Western Conference. So North Texas has the advantage on paper.
Yep. And like you said, man, you got to control what you can control, and that's winning your game first. And then whatever happens is going to happen with that North Texas club. Hopefully we can get something out of the LAFC2 team here. But you had all your chances, man, dropping 4 out of the last 5 and not getting even draw points out of those matchups. Really sunk this season pretty quickly. Still obviously have an opportunity here. I did see some clip about Jimmy being pretty pessimistic about being able to return to Austin, and I hate to see that. So hopefully we can keep this thing rolling to keep Jimmy around, playing a little bit more in front of the faithful here in 512. But yeah, this is going to be tough, man.
So like I said, we will preview that Decision Day match on Thursday's episode, and we will close out episode 260 here today with a quick spin around the nonsense on the betting side of things. Unfortunately, the underdog entry is refunded because Ivan Jaime does not start, nor did Osman Bukhari. So the Roman Berkey prop hits like 40 minutes in, no sweat there, but we'll take the refund and live to play another day. And on the books side of things, sitting on a slight profit with 3 outstanding bets here tonight on the Sunday night soccer matchup of Orlando and FC Cincinnati. So shutting it down here in a minute, go turn that on and hopefully turn in another profit and continuing that streak out to 5 weeks, E. But look, man, again, we had a little maybe too soon with the funeral on the best ball side of things. We did not smash this week, but we're about to start watching the Austin game last night with, dude, Leo Campana scored. I thought he was dead. Yeah. So apparently Campana back and going to play out the string here for the Revs. So we're back to 3 forwards. And I don't know, man, Undertaker gift.
Let's go, baby. Still afloat.
Yeah, so we will see how those scores pan out. And those will be posted, of course, on the socials. We'll talk about it here on Thursday. E, anything else for you before we head into our week and see everybody at the queue for the final on Wednesday?
I'll see you sickos Wednesday.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us here on this almost hour and a half episode 260 of the North End Podcast. We'll be back on Thursday following the final on Wednesday, of course, recapping all the craziness there. Hopefully celebrating our first major trophy as a club. We will, of course, also be previewing Saturday's match against St. Louis. We will be at the queue 3 times in, I think, a 10 or 11 day period there, with the final with St. Louis, with LAFC coming to town the weekend after that. And of course, previewing the Decision Day match for the second team, checking in on the nonsense, and talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the beginning of your week, everybody. Try to get some sleep. I know my adrenaline's already going, man, for Wednesday. We'll see you all at the queue on Wednesday and back here on Thursday for another episode. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.